said the National Working Committee of the APC, led by Adams Oshomole, has promised to send a reconciliation team to Rivers State to reconcile all aggrieved members. Also speaking, Alhaji Aminu Hungu Hussein, who is the chairman of supervision of sales of nomination forms, disclosed that the World Congresses will be direct, as all the party members will be allowed to elect their leaders. Our correspondent reports that the nomination forms, which were all sealed at the time they were brought to the party secretariat, were opened in the presence of national delegates and newsmen. And also, proceedings are currently underway at the Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja over the petition by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar, challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari at 2019 presidential election. The court, which had earlier gone for a break, has resumed proceedings. The presiding judge had earlier struck out an application by counsel to INEC and President Buhari challenging the qualification of the counsel to Atiku Abubakar, Levi Uzoku, to stand in the case. The judge also ruled that the tribunal has the jurisdiction to hear the issue of qualification of President Muhammadu Buhari to contest the presidential election, which the President's Council had argued was a pre-election matter. Also ruling on preliminary objections, the tribunal struck out a ground by the PDP and its candidate, indicting the Nigerian police of corrupt practices, noting that the police was not a party in the petition. Meanwhile, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has also upheld argument by President Buhari that it lacked the jurisdiction to entertain allegation of corrupt practices and voters' inducement brought against Vice President Yemi Osinbajo in the petition by Atiku and the PDP. The court, in its ruling, upheld the argument by President Buhari's legal team, led by Wole Olanipekun, a senior advocate of Nigeria, that it was wrong for the petitioners to raise such grievous allegation against Osinbajo without joining him in the petition to enable him defend himself against the allegation. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, amongst other things, also acceded to the request by President Buhari for the striking out of a witness statement written by former Aviation Minister Osita Chidoka in support of the petition by Atiku and the PDP. Chidoka, it would be recalled, served as the National Coalition Officer of the PDP during the last presidential election and testified as a star witness for the petitioner. And an alleged cultist has been arrested for murder in Rumudumaya in Obiakpo local government area of the state. Our correspondent gathered that the mother of the suspect had an issue with some people in the community over shop rent of 2,000 naira, which she refused to pay, and consequently called for her son to a rescue. A neighbor who pleaded anonymity said the alleged cultist went on a rampage and the deceased, who was being owed the rent, cutting him with a machete in the head, which led to his death. He was later apprehended by the police after sustaining injury to the head. Our correspondent also gathered that the Rumudumaya community people who came for jungle justice raised down the family house of the alleged cultist. Correspondent reports that though there are speculations that the alleged cultists have been killed, it is yet unconfirmed. And on the foreign scene, Arab nations have condemned the plan by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to annex a third of the occupied West Bank. Israel occupied the West Bank since 1967, but has not made moves to annex the area. Netanyahu has now pledged to apply Israeli sovereignty over the Jordan Valley and northern Dead Sea if he is returned to office following a general election next week. Officials in Jordan and Saudi Arabia have, however, sharply criticized the announcement, saying it would be illegal. The United Nations have also frowned at the move too, saying it would destroy the chance of new peace talks. And that's it of the news update. Stay tuned.
Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
This is Today 95.1 FM. To copy this tune, press 9.
This is Today 95.1 FM.
For current news and information, press 5.
They are politicians, all of them. They know what they do.
So they know how they attack each other.
To stay connected all day, press 1.
The person who raised the name is the one who made the public know about.
Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on your premium talk radio station.
We are your premium talk radio station. Today 95.1 FM, the station with a unique dial.
Your premium talk radio station, Today 95.1 FM, 7 minutes past 2. I know you were expecting the second half of today's hustle, but we had to interrupt that because we have a very special program, one that would put out a lot of information, and it's going to be hosted by Lord Asher Frank, monarch, publisher, leader of the Bridge Organization Global. And in the studio with him is Okele Benjamin, Ekpeye, opinion leader and activist. Lord Asher Frank, you're welcome.
It's my pleasure to be here. This event is very special to me and to my guests because there has been a lot of issues in the media concerning Ekpeye people, especially the issue of Ezekbe Lobo's stool. And it has become very pertinent that we have to react to some of the things that have been put out in the media, both in this station and in sister stations. The Ekpeye story is a very interesting one. For those who know Ekpeye very well, I know that the name Ahoda has been ringing for a very long time. Those who know the history of Nigeria very well know that the word Ahoda had been very seriously respected since the 1900s. A lot of people who come to Ahoda wonder why Ahoda is the way it is. So we have decided that in this occasion, we try as much as possible to inform the society about what is going on in that part of Nigeria. I will want a situation where we will look at Ahoda from 4 distinct periods. From the 1900s to 1945, from 1945 to 1977, and from 1977 to the present date, and the contemporary events going on today. Ahoda has been very revered. Ahoda has been very respected. But the fact that a stool for Ekpeye people, known as Ezekbe Lobo's stool, did not exist until from 1945 is something that the world should understand. Ahoda had been very famous before 1900. Ahoda had been well governed before 1900. From 1900 to 1945, Ahoda was the best planned town east of the Niger. From 1945, following the nationalist movement and the assertions of the ethnic nationalities within Nigeria, somebody within that context ensured that the people of Ekpe ethnic nationality had a voice within Eastern Nigeria. One singular person founded, created, and became the first occupant of a stool predominantly of Ekpeyes that was called the Ezekbe Lobo stool. That singular person had a name. That singular person had a face. That singular person was also in the Willing Commission of 1958. That singular person was the moving spirit behind the creation of Rivers State. Unfortunately, his name have gotten lost. And people who were ordinary clerks in his committee are being celebrated today as the founders of Rivers State, which they were not. We want to locate Ahoda and locate Ekpe properly in history. And that's why we're here. We see people jumping up and down, saying things that are not necessary. We see people jumping up and down, pretending as if oral history takes precedence over documented facts, which cannot be. Let His Royal Highness Eze Edmond Ashere Monoshi created this tool called the Ezekbe Lobo stool. And in all inheritance matters in Ekpeye land, elections are not the basis of ownership. Land, marriage, property, everything Ekpe land is owned by inheritance. It's not owned by elections. Between 1977, when Ashiru Monoshi died, and 1978, something happened in Ekpe, which is not what we are here to discuss. That's a story for another day. And then a group of persons brought out an aberration which they called elections. It's an aberration because even in heaven, if elections had been held between Lucifer and Jesus Christ, somebody would have won. Because Lucifer was the commander of the heavenly choir, not Jesus. But the principles of inheritance, which is the predominant principle of royalty, even in heaven and on earth, posits that the custodians of the mores, the traditions, and the cultures of a people must be patrilineal. The oath that my great-grandfathers held to protect the traditions of my people cannot be bazared in a public place in the name of elections. I wonder if the Queen of England, the crown of the British society, had been placed within the domains of political elections, if the traditions of the Gauls and the United Kingdom would have been sustained today. Royalty is not about contracts, going to government houses. No. Royalty is about preserving the core cultures, the traditions, the arcane thoughts and behavior of a people. And it goes from generation to generation. So when people smuggle in something called elections, where you want to become a traditional ruler in Ekpe, you go and buy express of interest form. You participate in a primary election. You do all that one. You go through litigations and all that one, and you say you're protecting the culture of the people. Which culture? The mere fact that a royal setting has contestants alone have balkanized that society, politically speaking. And you cannot be justifying anything. So,